another episode of Cooking with Mama T. Today we're going to do pepper steak, and we actually using our own steak seasoning. So the steak has been marinating in our steak seasoning and olive oil. I actually only use just the steak seasoning and olive oil. So we're going to cook that for a few minutes on one side. Then we're going to flip it over, and I'll come back and show you the process of sauteing the peppers and the onions, and then making the gravy, and then we'll slice the steak up. So stay tuned as we go through the process of our first pepper steak. I forgot to add my twigs of thyme. I love adding fresh thyme when I'm cooking actually beef or chicken, but in particular beef. It cooks very well, and you can just let it cook at the beginning and just let it cook through the whole time. And right before you take the steak out, you can take the thyme out. You bet. A very thick piece of steak, so I let it cook a little longer on the other side. And it is a pretty, and I'm gonna make it a medium well, because when we put it in the gravy, it's gonna cook longer in the gravy. And we have our onions already cut up and our peppers already cut up, and we'll be ready. And in the process, I'm gonna show you the rice. I made a Caribbean style rice just to change the flavor of it. Our steak is ready. It's a beautiful color, and it is medium well. I didn't want it to get well done, because when you put it in the gravy, it's going to cook some additional time. And what I did was, when I took one of the fillets out, I went on and threw the onions in there, because I wanted them to cook on a high heat, so they would get more caramelized and translucent. Because for pepper steak, I like it to be more caramelized than translucent. So the onions are just about ready, and then we're going to be adding the flour to make the gravy up. So now to our onions and peppers, we're going to add a little bit of flour. We're going to make our gravy right in this same pan. We just stir the flour around. And the good thing about cooking it in the same essence that you cooked it in, because you're going to need the brown from the essence to kind of turn your gravy brown. And if it doesn't turn it brown, you can use beef bouillon, or you can use what's called a kitchen bouquet. It's a gravy browner. But this should be fine. And then we're going to add water. Now, as you can see, it's already thickening up. And for a pepper steak, for me, anything that I use gravy with, I like it to be a darker brown. Even if I'm using it in my chicken gravy, I still like it to be a dark brown, and especially when it comes to steak. So I will definitely be adding some of the bouillon sauce in here. And as you can see, pepper steak is a pretty quick dish to make. As soon as the gravy boils down, we should be ready. And this should aid in turning it brown. And the good thing about gravy, if it's too thick, you just add water. And if it's too thin, then once it gets to the gravy state with the water, if you see it's too thin, then you make your flour into what's called a roux. We call it a thickening. You use flour and hot water. And you don't want to add dry flour to wet gravy. That's when you add the flour and the water together. And we're going to let this simmer just for a little while. Our pepper steak is all done. Everything is good. And it actually cooked as thick as it was. I was a little concerned. But it did cook to the medium well. And now it will be finishing up inside the gravy. And for the side, we just did a quick Caribbean rice. And I'll put the directions of it in the description. Caribbean rice is really quick to cook, but it's really, really flavorful, because you just brown green onion inside of olive oil. And when it browns, you pour the water and your rice and a little bit of chicken bouillon or chicken broth in it. Let it cook up and your rice is done. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Cooking with Momma T. Please remember to subscribe to our channel. Click on the notification button so you will be notified of any upcoming episodes. Remember to follow us at Lily Snooks. That's where you'll see the seasonings that we use, the steak seasoning that I use on my own steak. And you can follow us on our page at www.lilysnooks.com. Thanks again and have a great day.